No. No. Ah! Yes! Greetings, survivors and friends, and welcome to this week's roundup of the Rust Dev blog, where we have sticking in, picking up, and taking off. But first, as you can see, we have a brand new and much requested item that should help you get around those pesky rustraining orders, introducing Rust's first pair of binoculars, which can either be found in purple crates or crafted for 5 high qual and 1 gear. Once equipped, you can hold the right mouse button to look through them and cycle between the 3 different zoom levels with the left. Highly useful for scoping out potential raids or points of interest, the intense novelty factor will probably mean that you'll be looking at all sorts of stuff for a while to see how it looks close up without actually having to move your eyeballs any nearer to it. But please, whatever you do, don't be tempted to investigate that big strange light in the sky that your parents warned you about, will you? In related news, another item which sort of made it into the game this week but isn't officially available to craft just yet is this, the small handmade scope. Not sure yet on the costs, but it should be a cheaper, if less potent version of its big brother. You can test it out now if you have admin rights, but stay tuned and we should have all the juicy details hopefully in the next update. Hey, you know how you can pick up chairs, rugs and tables if you're holding a hammer and you're authorized on the local tool cabinet? Well, joy of joys, this week it seems that you've finally mustered up enough strength to pick up not only wall lamps, ceiling lights and lanterns, but also auto and flame turrets. Well done you. Don't like turrety McTurret face where you put him? Is he messing up the feng shui? No problem. Now just shove him in your pocket and off you go. It's worth noting here that any fuel in the lights will stay with them, but the stuff in the turrets will go to your inventory separately when you pick them up. Just so you know. Oh, and auto turrets have to be off before you can move them. The sales are on, it seems, and a number of cost reductions happened this week, including one that needed to happen if you asked certain people. The crossbow now doesn't need a gear. Not that I could ever figure out where you'd put it really, but it's not all unicorns and sunshine, as despite the savings in components, it does cost a bit more of everything else. The new netted wall frame from last week's update costs 1 less rope now, and its need for metal frags has been swapped for 200 wood a pop instead. Apart from this, C4 and hollow sights now take 1 less tech trash each to craft, silencers require 5 high qual instead of 8, and everybody's favourite useless shooty stick, the Ioka, dropped in price too, and so instantly became this season's must-have sidearm. Yeah. In other adjustments, the muzzle brake / recoil compensator, or whatever you want to call it, now has higher durability and further reduces recoil. Items which can hold fuel now have a separate panel which shows their contents and which can be used to fill and empty them, and the new wall spinner had some adjustments so that first of all you can hear it through chain link fences and shop fronts now, yay, and secondly that items thrown at it will also spin with it. I'm sure I don't need to explain how useful this is, but I can't help wishing we had a bigger version of it somehow. There was a small but significant change to how furnaces operate in this update, and I can understand if some of you won't like it, but until now, when a furnace overflowed, it would constantly vomit its contents out into the world. A lot of us were used to taking advantage of this feature because we didn't really care about all of that excess charcoal. The problem was that this would constantly create and destroy entities and was having an adverse effect on server performance. So for now, anytime that your furnace spits something out, it'll turn off. This is a work in progress, and more changes will come in the following weeks, including an end to splitting stacks to increase furnace performance, sadly. But hey, don't shoot me, I'm just the messenger. As well as this, other optimizations were undertaken this week, including pooling support for client-side entities, which helps prevent stuttering when they're created, and less expensive runtime mesh building. You can read more about the performance gains on the dev blog if you wish. If you've been keeping your ear to the grapevine, you may have caught a whisper about a new monument that's being worked on, and it seems that Rust Island may have been a much more happening place than we originally thought. This is the preliminary art for the rocket launch site, which is designed to be a challenge for higher tier players, typically those who are into endgame content. Personally, I think we all like a bit of endgame content, but the loot that spawns here should be higher tech than the rest of the game's locations. There's a launch site complete with rocket ready to go, a factory hangar, office buildings, and a good mix of both above and below ground areas to explore. It's early days of course, but hopefully I'll have more to show you next week. It's now no longer possible to market skins on the Steam Workshop until they've finished their stint in the item store. This usually takes 8 weeks from when they first go on sale, and the reason for this change is that currently nobody seems to be buying new skins after the first week and subsequent price increase. The hope is that this will not only help skin authors, but also enable skins to maintain their value when they go to market. But of course, only time will tell. I know how you're all itching to see the new AI system in the game, and the good news is that a stable version of Unity 5.6, which is essential for it, is preparing to go live. Once it does, there's nothing to stop us from, among other things, finally having bears and other animals that don't walk through rocks and foundations. So depending on how soon Unity gets their finger out, this could mean that we're playing with it on either April the 6th or Star Wars Day, May the 4th. Exciting times! In other changes and tweaks, standardization of clothing is being worked on to ensure that going for the layered look doesn't turn into a nightmare of floating and clipping clobber. This should mean that not only will things look better, but that hopefully, just maybe, we'll be able to wear bone armor over other items too. View model animations for a number of weapons had a pass this week to tighten them up. This not only helps make them feel chunkier and more satisfying to use, but should also fix a long-standing bug with view models clipping after changes to field of view in the settings menu. And finally, something that we should hopefully be hearing next week are footwear-specific footsteps. Basically, depending on whether you're barefoot, wearing boots, or even a big rubber hazmat suit, you should soon hear the difference. Thank you all in advance for liking, subscribing, and leaving me a comment on what you thought of this week's update. Stay tuned for more Rust, and come and follow me on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and Steam. I shall catch you all next week, but until then, keep calm and stay rusty. Cheerio.